Hey folks, welcome to the Module 4 discussion post where we're talking about meetings. So let's see. Recently I attended a meeting that my husband was in. He works for a survey aviation company, and I listened in to one of the weekly meetings that all of the pilots attend. These happen to be hybrid virtual and in-person meetings. Since several pilots are out abroad, they need to tune in via Zoom, stuff like that. But everybody else who isn't abroad tends to just go to the office and attend there. They have this big conference table they've got a videotape going. It's pretty nice, actually. About the people attending, the main attendees that I will be referring to are Charlie, the IT guy, Lima, the chief pilot, and Mike, who's the big boss and another pilot and owner of the company. Charlie, the IT guy, is an indispensable member of the team. He covers all of the IT stuff, and he's a pilot as well, so covering those shifts. But during the meetings, it seems that he sometimes forgets that the rest of the pilots aren't also IT people, so he uses some lingo and goes into these tangents that just don't serve the rest of the pilots' interests. He loses an audience that way because he forgets that the rest of his audience don't really care. The audience doesn't care much about the rest of the IT stuff. Lima is the chief pilot, and he seems to do a really good job being the focusing agent. So he's able to kind of redirect people to be back on the meeting topics and just keeping them from straying too far. And he does this very subtly, very gently. He's not ham-fisted about it. He's very elegant about bringing people back. Mike is the big boss and the owner, and he does really good directing the meeting, calling people to speak up and covering the main points that need to be addressed. And about those main points, the agenda of the meeting. So these meetings happen every week. They're every week, every Monday, and simply to go over what happened over the past week, what's being planned for the rest of the week and the upcoming week, and to gather feedback from pilots about various points about what's happening, what's going to happen, just to make sure that the dialogue stays open. Anything that concerns the life of the pilots is on the agenda. The length of the meeting, usually the meeting lasts 30 minutes to an hour, closer to 30 minutes since it happens weekly, and I really like that. The problem-solving approach, the leader's ability to manage the meeting. Like I said earlier, all of the pilots are able to voice their concerns and offer their ideas. Mike does well to create space for each member to speak, but the only critique is that he has a hard time wrapping up a meeting cleanly. He tends to ramble on at the end of the meeting about a bunch of stuff that don't really concern the pilots very well, and tends to be unrelated, and he keeps everybody on the call, and everybody is just kind of wondering when this meeting's going to end because they've got things to do. But Lima, chief pilot, does his best to counterbalance this. So real-life application. Based on what I've learned, which elements that I critique were most effective and why. So the fact that these meetings are held weekly, every Monday, at a regular time, I think is very effective. I listen in on these meetings often, and it seems that they happen at the perfect interval. Not too infrequent, just frequent enough, and certainly not overly frequent. Mike is also very good at leading a conversation instead of just delivering a lecture. The source I've included stresses the importance for a leader to facilitate, which just means to facilitate both the conversation as well as facilitate sort of the efforts of the rest of the team, which can look something like allocating resources to their efforts. It stresses the importance of collaboration, so collaborating and not just being authoritarian. And it stresses the importance of serving, which means just serving the needs of the people he's working with, which whether that's serving their attention, like being able to speak to what they're interested in, or just, serving, being a servant leader. So what would I change? I would create, there's only one thing, and I would create a separate meeting for a more in-depth look at the IT, because the IT still works with a lot of what the pilots deal with. It's still important to know, but I don't think that it's appropriate to go into that kind of detail and take up that much time for the weekly Monday meetings. It would be more appropriate perhaps to either have a separate meeting or maybe even memos that the rest of the pilots can share and read. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And you can see below for my reference. Thanks.